Well, welcome to my gun locker. This month I'm showing you the Sterling Submachine Gun Mark IV. Now, the Sterling's got an interesting history as it was derived somewhat from the Sten submachine gun. Stens were, ugly, but, pretty reliable and very inexpensive to manufacture during World War II. Now, the desire was to come up with a better model, one that was even more reliable than the Sten. So they went about developing the gun, and in trials they used the Sten as the baseline to test against, and they tested the Sten, the Sterling, the Uzi, and the MP5 side by side in torture tests that included sand, mud, and even freezing. Well, the gun that came out on top consistently was the Sterling. And there's some design features in the gun that really give it the edge. I like the gun a lot. It's would be one of my go-to submachine guns if I needed something that was really reliable in any environment. Barrel length is long enough that you get good velocity out of it with about a 10-inch barrel. Fires from an open bolt. And open bolt guns tend to be a little more reliable than closed bolt firing guns just because they don't have a locking mechanism that gets gummed up with sand or other garbage. The closed bolt guns normally, though, are a little more accurate. Well, the Sterling, the way it shoots is pretty doggone smooth, and it's got a good collapsible but solid buttstock that allows you to create some stability and get good hits out to 100 meters. It's in 9mm parabellum caliber, so 9x19. And the secret of the gun, as far as I'm concerned, is this magazine. The magazine is really well designed, curved, which helps with the taper of the cartridge, and the feature of these dual rollers is really what makes the rounds feed up smoothly. And I've been so impressed with this magazine and how reliable it is. In fact, I think it's a wonderful platform magazine for the design of some other guns. But one of the noticeable features here, and very unusual, is like the Sten, the magazine fits in from the side. Magazine catch is this button right on top. Press that, pull out the magazine. And the buttstock, as I was talking about earlier, the buttstock has a latch right here. It's part of the buttstock. Latches into one of the holes in the shroud, comes around, and the end cap, you press this little button right here, latch, push the end cap forward, and it locks into the end cap. It's a little tight. There's a new gun. There we go. So it's a very rigid stock for a folding stock. A lot of folding stocks are not rigid at all. You could butt stroke somebody with this if you needed to. Press a little latch, that pops down, this presses forward, comes back, and latches right in again. Another thing that you might recognize is, where have you seen this gun before? Dun, da, 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 dun, da, 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 dun, da, da, da. Well, I'm not very good at the music, but Star Wars. If you saw this gun, particularly in the first couple original issues of Star Wars, they put a scope on it. But other than that, it was a pretty much unmodified Sterling submachine gun. And most people hadn't seen them, and they look pretty futuristic. So watch for that next time you watch the movie. Gun's pretty straightforward to disassemble. Let's go ahead and do that. Press this latch, turn the end cap, has a couple of ears in there, comes off. And then we'll just slide everything out the back. I want to show you one kind of unique feature. You remove the operating handle, and then the unique feature I was talking about is this whole drive assembly. Now, you'll see that it's two springs, actually. A front spring and a back rear spring, and that allows the gun to operate pretty smoothly and with a variety of different ammunition. The bolt is fairly complex to machine, and in fact, this was a pretty expensive gun to manufacture, which is one of the reasons why it eventually fell out of service back in the 90s with the British, which is where this gun was designed and built for, And they only built about 400,000 of them, which for successful military designs, that's not really a huge number. The gun can be found all around the world, though. They sold a number of them commercially, sold a lot of them to various different British commonwealths, and the gun's so reliable you'll find it around for years and years to come. The bolt, a feature that's really interesting about the bolt is it has these built-in spirals, and what those are intended to do is be self-cleaning. So they actually, as the bolt comes back, it tends to push all the junk and garbage out of the way and collect it just on the inside of those grooves so that it won't bind up the bolt. So your bolt is really, your surface area is only bearing on the lands, if you will, of the bolt. So less area, less friction. Okay, let's put it back together. You line up the bolt. I put in the drive assembly all at the same time. I find it easiest. Put it in like this. And line it up. Line up that operating handle. Give it a little push. It's all the way in. And then the rest of the bolt goes forward. Now you got to pull the trigger to let the bolt slip past the sear. And the cap goes on. And line it up. Press that plunger, turn it, and it's on. Well, one more thing I want to show you is the controls. I'm going to move the buttstock so you can see that more easily. Here is the selector, and that's the safe position. R for repeat, semi-auto, and A for auto. I think it's time for us to go to the range and put this through the paces. Well, I've told you how reliable the Sterling submachine gun is, and a lot of the credit goes to the magazine. Now, I own a lot of different machine guns, and you know, they're surplus. The pieces come from here and there, and sometimes the magazines don't fit quite right or just aren't real reliable, or they're old, worn out. Anyway, the Sterling mags, generally, you can count on them to work. They're a good design. Let's give it a run. Now that's fun. Well, I'll tell you what. This gun, as we talked about, was designed with a magazine that goes in and fits in a horizontal magazine well. What's that all about? Let's get low to the ground. Let's give it a try. As you can see, I can get pretty low to the ground. It'd be harder to do that with a magazine that's stuck straight out from the bottom, especially if there was something in my way that I was shooting over. Okay. All right. The Sterling submachine gun, very reliable, was put to good use in the Falkland Wars by the British and by the SAS, and heck, it's still in use all around the world. It's a great submachine gun, very reliable, and a lot of fun. I'll see you next month when I drag out another toy.